Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the MI podcast. If you're new to the MI podcast, in the MI podcast, we discuss different topics in marketing and media. A very important part of, I would say, marketing and media, when we say, is PR, that is public relations. Public relations is something like, even if you are not knowing much into marketing media, we still hear about it because we hear about celebrities, publicists, PR, good PR, bad PR happening. So that is like, I would say, a mainstream conversation, and honestly, the importance of it also is very important to companies in terms of the effects it has. So basically, I would say, when we talk about the marketing world in general, it is perception is reality. So PR is something that builds a positive image or perception of from all the stakeholders in your company. So
Yeah.
maybe at a smaller level, those companies, we wouldn't have like a dedicated PR person or some other agency. But when the stakes are higher, your business is a little bit bigger, you definitely invest in PR professionals, whether it is in-house or agencies or how you go about it. So there are various facets within this, and we'll be discussing basically PR, how it works out in the digital age. So joining me for this particular discussion, we have a PR consultant, a very experienced one. Thanks for joining me, Bhavna.
Hi, Nikhil. Thanks for having me.
Yes, Bhavna. So Bhavna, I think you have worked quite a bit within the PR field, and I think like your experience would be even more important is because maybe you are somebody who has seen this whole digitalization that has happened, the
Yeah,
last 10 years in PR, and you have worked
exactly.
actively during that time. So awesome, we can cover quite a few interesting things within this. So firstly, Bhavna, to the audience, if you could give a bit of an introduction of yourself.
Sure. So, Nikhil, my entire PR communication trajectory so far and how I reached till this point that, I've started on my own now and it's been an independent setup now. So, I would just like to mention few important milestones that enable me to decide that, what career I would like to carve out for myself. So PR to me as a profession did not come naturally. So since childhood, one thing that has remained consistent till now with me has been communication and my approach to it. So, fortunately and very naturally, I was never hesitant in, putting across and putting forth my views, my opinions, the way I feel, and, basically voicing my opinions. So, that was either through debates or declamations or elocution, all school contests basically. So, communication wise, I was always very active, and then in school I participated in national youth parliament contest and I was the speaker of the Lok Sabha. And while rehearsing for that, and we won first position, so that was something huge, and I was awarded by the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs at that time. That was really huge, and I was always thinking this to my mind that this is the field I want to carve out for myself, something to do with communication, but something which is dynamic. So each day that gives me an opportunity to do something uniquely and differently. So after doing little bit of research, and a lot of recommendations from senior people, so I inclined towards UPSC. So I was a very serious aspirant, and after giving couple of attempts, I prepared hard for UPSC. So I studied really hard and I had good, insightful conversations with senior IS officers as well. And, unfortunately, that did not materialize as a dream. So, again, I sat back and I was like thinking to myself, what would it be that involves communication, that involves, a lot of content research. And, because after studying so much in UPSC, I wanted to do something which involves interdisciplinary aspect to it as well, right? So which is cross cutting and going beyond a niche vertical. So then at that point of time, so it's around I would say 10 years back, PR as a discipline was, it was not a prominent one, and unless you dig deep and you go deeper into it, it did not come as a natural recommendation from anyone. So it was not a set profession. So slowly and gradually, I was shifting my jobs, and it was in communication only. So I was working with an MNC. I was working with Genpact in their communication team, and then I switched to abroad education consultancy. Again, there was a lot of communication involved there, event hosting, event moderation, getting media coverage. So inadvertently, I was into the strands of PR without knowing actually that, okay, I mean, overtly that, this is something which is hardcore PR. But I was doing things, in bits and parts which are already core parts of PR. So, from coming from a communication industry, and after switching a couple of jobs, one, two jobs, then I came to know that, okay, so there's a thing called public relation as a separate discipline. And after completing my post graduation in international relations, I joined National Human Rights Commission. So there, I was exposed to various social impact sector. Like I was working for a UNICEF project also at their base location, and that was also, as a communication consultant. So the social impact sector, the corporate sector, education sector, and then finally I landed in PR, and my first client was from a technology background. So then I kept educating myself, and I took some specialized courses also in PR and brand communication, got to know what are the practices involved in this, and dig deeper in it. And then finally, after switching jobs in PR agencies, I realized that this is a lot which always has been my dream since childhood, getting into a field that gives you opportunity to innovate, to create something of your own, on a daily basis, to go out and do meaningful networking, talk to people out there, study the trend, and then, build on that. So, finally, and after meeting a lot of people from the industry, senior leaders, and since last, I would say, couple of months, I've been in constant touch with people, very senior corporate communication leaders, and PR industry experts, and they have been giving me their insights. So it all has compounded, and it all has come to one point, that is, okay, my approach to PR, it's and anybody's approach to PR, naturally it is not a fixed definite structured manner. So you have to take into consideration a lot of aspects to it, be it R&D, your content. If you're good in content, that is also PR. Then client servicing is also PR. Media advisory is also PR. And now in the age of digital media, we see the changing scenario to such an extent that you are, networking with not just clients and journalists, but also with influencers, with digital content creators. So I think this field is like, it's growing by leaps and bounds, and it's evolving like anything. So this unprecedented approach, and it's a very fortunate time also for me that I have seen this transition also from from traditional approach to this digital landscape, the way this profession is changing, and it's changing for good only. So this entire communication approach is more to do with integrated setup. So yeah, that way I'm fortunate enough to to be going through such a journey of ups and downs, and lot of learnings and lot of networking, and now finally in the digital age of PR, like you rightly said.
That's
Yeah.
right. So, Bhavna, like for the people, who are at that time, where they have to make the career choice, and they're somewhere looking at PR, because today, at the information age, you can kind of do a lot of research, and you can get into like things deeper, that what would I like to choose, and then see the professionals that are in it, and you can take opinion from them also. So in terms of you, like what are the kind of like growth that has happened where, and then these job openings are there, or there are more opportunities in it which were not there say 10 years back.
Right. So, Nikhil, 10 years back, whatever career opportunities, like I also said, what could not be possible for me at that point of time, the entire, if I had knowledge about the field and I had knowledge about this PR industry, then I would have been, in a much better place and in a much, advanced stage, I would say. But 10 years back, the scenario was like digitally also, if I talk about, people were not as aware as they are right now. A lot to do is also a lot of it is also to do with the government policies of digital literacy, and bridging that gap through many digital innovations and inclusive policies, I would say. So at that time, there was not much awareness with respect to career choices, with respect to fields. So fields like communication, fields like digital marketing, these, were existing, but these were not prominently existing in India. So there was lot of
Absolutely.
yeah, so there was a huge scope for these fields abroad. So if people could afford to go there and get education, so that was something which was visible. But in India, it was not prominently visible. So I think yes. So this gap was there, and
So
now
one,
we have seen.
Bhavna, like I've seen that one obvious thing is that when the scope of work increases, so you have a lot of agencies coming in, right? So when the agencies come in, obviously they will need more workforce for
Right.
that. So since the PR agencies cropped up quite a bit, then this is, and that's a good thing in the digital space where you don't, whenever you're starting a business, you don't need that much upfront capital, right? You
Yes,
just have
right.
to have a good skill set and knowledge in the market, contacts and all, and then maybe you can start. Also, I think the PR, agencies, they came up a lot, and then the importance of PR on business, which
Right.
is so much manifold now, because like with fake news or like viral content that can really be defamatory for your brand, the importance so much, and
Mhm.
also they're investing in hiring in-house professionals also. Earlier they were not there. It is just an importance things, like how all these things evolve. So yeah, that is where maybe the structure can be the same, but the amount of people required is quite a bit.
Mhm.
And I would say
Yes,
like
yes,
digital and all, where it is kind of more integrated approach where you
yes.
like
True.
image management or reputation management is kind of terms used,
Mhm.
which is actually PR,
Right,
right? But
right,
then it
right.
is a part of say digital marketing services.
Yes,
So
true.
that is that is the wherein even a digital marketing agency would technically need a PR professional,
Right, right.
to pull that
That
off.
is it.
That's it.
So, like you rightly said, Nikhil, here that the businesses and everything was happening, it was existing. What PR has done is it has added more layers to the process. So,
Hmm.
in doing that, in that process, it is very natural that a lot of job creation and job generation has happened. So, which has, to a great extent, given people a career path, a unique career path to carve out for themselves. Like people who were good in communication, but they were not having any idea. Ki if someone is good in communication, then traditionally journalism would come as a natural choice to them. So now
Hmm.
PR has added those many layers to the businesses. So just a very small example I would like to quote here. Like we have a business processing unit. So business processing unit, any BPO if we talk about, so that BPO has few of the cardinal departments. So it has IT department, it has finance department, likewise it has R&D department, training and development department. Now you see across verticals, the businesses have PR, corporate communication department, which was not very prominent earlier, but now this is a very specialized department in each and every business across verticals. So
Yeah.
that way, it is a very fortunate thing that PR has added many layers, which resultantly has added to a lot of jobs creation and everything, and to a certain extent that has curbed the migration aspect also. So yes, it has for sure it has done.
That's right.
A lot
So
of
there are a
good
lot many
within it.
opportunities within India only. So
Yes,
that is the transformation that you can make, and preferably anyone would prefer to be in their own country and work and all.
exactly.
In terms of the
Exactly.
convenience. So when there are
Exactly.
opportunities within your country and that's coming up quite a bit, and India is going to become like the third
Exactly.
biggest economy. So
Exactly.
all this is going
And
to drive it. Yeah.
yes, and just one more thing to amplify here that when I talk about PR as a job, then obviously it does give you a career option. I mean, it is not something which is a finite kind of thing that you are with one agency today, then you have to join some other agency today. So it gives you, that's the beauty of this profession. It gives you a very wonderful opportunity to go solo, to go independently, because it all depends on building those meaningful connections and doing networking. And then once you are in that place and in that space that you are able to derive business, I think, with collaboration and with the support of multiple stakeholders, it just happens. So it does not give you a very finite, structured format to work in, but it's, relatively more empowering, I would say. Yeah.
Awesome. So, Bhavna, basically, like we were talking about, like how digital media has transformed, various industries in general, and mostly when you look at PR, how that impact has been. So, little bit to the audience, a lay person, if you could, point out digital media, how it has actually, transformed the working of public relations.
So digital media has definitely transformed the entire PR landscape in order to, enhance its relevance and credibility. And there are a few of the pointers that need to be considered, if we talk about the focus now. So that is more on content driven and data driven strategies. The focus is more on, influencer collaboration, something to do with enhancing the digital profile of the client. So here also, Nikhil, there are two aspects that I would like to mention. So first is we talk about B2B client, and the another aspect is D2C client. So their ask differs with respect to digital media or traditional media as a strategy to opt further. When we talk about D2C clients, supposedly the client is into apparel, fashion, retail, consumer durable, lifestyle, then obviously they would want, to enhance their digital presence, digital visibility, because that's where their traction comes from. That's where they get major traction. And if I talk about a brand that is basically into B2B enterprise IT setup or a very corporate kind of a setup, then their ask would be more around traditional media, a very structured approach, a very structured format. So definitely digital media, it is changing the landscape of PR in a way that the approach to communication and the approach to brand building is more integrated now. So it is not just one way, but it is a good blend of both, depending upon the situation and the scenario. Yeah.
That's right. So, Bhavna, in terms of like say you, when we look at that digital marketing aspect, when I mentioned about that online reputation management. So,
Mhm.
um, as a PR agency, when you look at like basic PR agency, when they look at, many people they even start their own digital PR agency. Like, what are the basic services breakups that we are looking at?
So when I talk about the basic services in the digital PR aspect, talking about the integrated aspect of it, then we do have content creation, we have media advisory, we have social media profiling, the digital marketing setup which we talk about, and we have strategy planning, we have digital strategizing, and so each and every aspect to it, it is not like a 360-degree package, but it is all about offering tailor made solutions to the client depending on the ask of the client. So
Hmm.
I think it's the requirement unless and until, so it is very important to understand what is the ask of the client, what is it that is majorly the motive behind hiring any PR consultant by the client. So unless and until we
That's right.
have requirements from the other side of the table, we can't come up with a uh, preconceived notion or preconceived strategy that okay, these are the pointers.
That's
But
it.
yeah, overall, if we talk about then what incorporates the plan, then these are the pointers which I've already told you. You know, we have social media, we have media advisory, then we have event collaborations. So yeah, apart from client
That's
servicing
it.
thing, it involves strategy mapping
Yes,
and
yes.
everything.
So like definitely like when we have a PR agency, we it's the same approach when we used to say like even in a digital marketing, like some agencies they just put up like a services rate card and breakup. So that's not a good idea. You can display it on your website, but when you are offering the services, you have to look at the business and accordingly give a very
True.
personalized pitch of what is required. So that effort is required as like if you're working in the agencies and
Yes,
you are in the say
definitely,
business
definitely.
development and
And
all. Yeah,
yes, yes. That is a very relevant point which you have just raised, Nikhil. I was, just about to bring up something which was very personalized, and just a week ago, I went for a client meeting. So it was basically the business development part only, and I went there, and so me and my team we showed them the presentation and everything, and then it is a very prominent sportswear brand, and I was talking to the MD directly, and it's a global brand, and they were looking out to hire some PR consultant to for their new upcoming 2024 to 2025 collection. And that MD, he told me one thing very normally, that Bhavna, I was not aware that you would come up with such a huge presentation. You have put in lot of efforts in it. He said that I like having a conversational approach when we talk about BDs and when we take pitches across the industry. So he said that it is very natural that we talk first on the pointers and everything. And I told him that okay, sir, I was not following this earlier, but then seeing the trend and going by the industry practices, people expect you to come up with a presentation. If 90% of the case that is not relevant to the business, that is not relevant to their ask, until you are sitting on the table and you are actually discussing the requirements, what is the ask of the client, how can you come up with the strategy, even if you are doing the SWOT analysis, that is strength, weakness, opportunity, threat, then that is even in itself is not possible unless and until you have the ask of the client very specifically. So his ask was also very specific. He said that it's good that you people are doing research on the brand, but then if you are coming up with a strategy, if you're coming up with that, then I think before that, this conversation is important to happen. Unless and until what business you are expected
that's
to look
right.
after.
Definitely,
So
Bhavna,
that becomes
that's right. As Bhavna, as a marketer, also, I have noticed that when you have the agencies, whether digital marketing or PR, and now you have influencer agencies, also like they when they're having like say half an hour meeting with you and so much like say 10-15 minutes is wasted on certain points which they just want to present,
exactly,
it is
exactly.
it is frustrating to that. It's like you can just can we just have a start the conversation, right? So
Yes,
keep so my advice would be keep that to a minimum, obviously, because you don't know directly the requirements. Maybe a little bit of email communication has happened, but I feel bit of have focus that there's time for that conversation and also something customized that you have thought for them, maybe one or two ideas or something.
right,
At
right,
least
right.
that makes the prospective customer like little bit more that he has put in that effort. If you just
Exactly.
put in as per a certain industry or certain a presentation which
Yes,
you can see
yes,
through,
yes.
then you are on the back foot in terms of like that you're anything
Right,
going
right,
further,
right,
that way. So
right.
it's that impression
Yes.
also you create, and end of the day you are working in PR, so you should be conscious of impressions
Exactly.
and all. That's
So
right.
exactly. So you are going for the PR meeting, for the brand and the brand management thing, and then you are doing PR of your own agency. You're talking about your agency, how we come into picture. You're telling them what are your competitors, and then you're coming up with the ideas also before actually the conversation between you and the ask, you and the
Yes.
client. So I think there you need to restrict that, and maybe those pointers you can incorporate in the flow of the conversation itself. Like, okay, if the
That's
client is
right.
telling you about the ask and telling you about the prerequisites, what are the requirements from his side, maybe in the flow of the conversation you can incorporate that rather than giving it an exalted position in the meeting or in that process.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. And actually, Bhavna, I was to making the point that even if you are saying that the points they come up with, if it's customized, then it's fine if you made. But
Yeah.
many times it's very generic as per just an
Yes.
industry. So they've
Yes.
not researched the client. So my point was that if you have one or two ideas, not many, because पहले से आप इतने ideas you give, that is not of use because maybe you not understood the business that much, and then after the conversation. So yeah, accordingly, that's why I feel like selling the services also is a very important skill set. Then having, so whether it is wherever your salespeople are is, as an agency is as a very crucial and should be driven by the founder and CEO.
Exactly.
Awesome.
And yeah, here I would say that not 100% I agree with this, because there are certain protocols of the industry also. So if you go to an IT industry, if you go to some finance industry, then there are certain protocols. So if we are going for the client meeting for the first time, in anticipation of servicing that client, then I think little bit of the conversation starter we are prepared on our own. I mean, this is like one client that has told me, ki, okay, I have these requirements, so this presentation it might not be necessary. But then, for other clients, I have already also seen the scenarios in which they do expect the presentation. So it
Yeah.
really depends client to client, and
Varies. Yeah.
yeah, case basis. So I think, but the basic practice remains the same. If you are going for the presentation, then a very sane advice would be to just keep it minimal and to keep it like crisp and to the point. Yeah.
That's right. Then rest is within the conversation, which
Yes. Yes.
actually the client or prospective client is looking forward to than
Yes.
the
Yes.
presentation per se. Awesome. So Bhavna, let's discuss a little bit about now the brand reputation. You know how this thing has evolved, digital age where you have social media, which any kind of news can catch on. It can be negative, positive, or something, and you have these news filtering not only like in the apps and all, which we see so many news sites and all have their own, but also WhatsApp and all news just spreading like wildfire. So how do you approach it, like in terms of in general when you look at you're designing your brand reputation strategy?
So, while designing brand reputation strategy, like PR as a profession, so it is very, it is imperative to keep a plan for crisis communication ready alongside your strategy for the client. The upcoming strategy. So, like you said, that negative information, it travels very fast. With the WhatsApp University, so we have special terms for that now. So I think consistent communication, maintaining transparency, and the key messaging, saying it out and loud. I think maintaining these things, it's like a very core ethical practice that one needs to be mindful of before executing any strategy and going forward with it. Yeah.
That's right. Reputation management. So, like any kind of example, if it's possible, you can give your Bhavna, where maybe you have had a client, like maybe reputation has been hampered, with certain, news and all, and they have asked you that, how do we kind of correct this and all.
So that's right. I was part of the team that was taking care of the client that was in in the space of hospitality, and there some unpleasant incident happened there. In the premises of the property itself, and that did not have anything to do with the staff there, But then the news was, made negative to such an extent that their name was being used because that incident happened there, you know. And then, we were taking care of that client with respect to PR and their digital strategy and everything. So crisis communication was something that was also entrusted upon as a responsibility. So the way we tackled that was, we approached couple of journalists through whom the story was already out, and we just tried to maintain a very accountable and transparent conversation. Keeping in loop both the client and obviously journalists, because there are multiple stakeholders that you have to be in touch. And with consistent communication and with that accountable conversation and everything, we were able to sort that to such an extent that the name part was not very visible. I mean, if the name was XYZ, then they were taking a very generic name that, okay, this incident happened in this place, and
Yep.
so yeah, so that direct that direct attack or direct negative publicity was saved in the face. Yeah,
That's
because
great.
the
So,
client did not the client directly was not involved, so ethically also it was like, it was not justified that the name was being taken directly. So
mhm,
yeah, so with little bit of those the integrated approach and everything, so we could
that's
just
right.
sort it out. Yeah.
That's right. Bhavna, so there is a, like, when you are working as a PR, like a consultant, so like there is a legal this thing also where you are aware of people, lawyers and all that, and that part of the thing also is important, or like how does that particularly work out?
No, I mean, so far, Nikhil, to be honest, I mean that is something which might be existing,
Mhm.
but again, I said that PR, it's not just one niche thing. I mean, there are multiple
That's
stakeholders
right.
involved. So obviously, if like I am in the communication part of this, then obviously that legal. So there is a dedicated team, right, for crisis,
Mhm.
for this legal handling and everything. So there is a dedicated team, and those teams, they must be existing. But I am
Mhm.
not directly aware of it, so I don't have direct knowledge of
That's
the
right.
matter because I was not, included in
That's
those
right.
legal
I think
matters.
it's more of a case, Bhavna, that there's a communication happens like. I was talking to some person who was a high level marketing person in a, like a telecom company. So basically, there they basically communicate the facts of where there's a kind of a defamation happening that they feel suddenly on somewhere on social media, and then their job is taken. They communicated. This is, we have communicated to that particular person that is spreading wrong news, and there is no response from them. Whatever. Then they, so their job is that they communicate that if you want to go ahead with whatever legality that you can this thing, but that is the they're aware of. So I think the PR team is somewhere they will in such circumstances where it's, it's intentional negative to hurt. You identify it, try to communicate, and if you don't get anything back or a, like this thing, then you have to communicate. So obviously you're not directly involved. It is more of a communication between the
Mhm.
particular, departments per se.
Yeah, yeah. So there are, like I said, that there are many layers involved in this, Nikhil. So you can't always see it from the PR POV, and you
Mm.
do have other teams involved, and you do have other members. So again, this is case to case basis. In some cases, it gets sorted, expeditiously, but in some cases, it takes like a lot of time, and it just lags around. So I think, yeah. So some cases the approach needs to be proactive, but some cases you have to take it slow, because so it depends on the degree of the crisis also, I would say, and it depends on the layers also that are between this. So yeah, so it's about to do with multiple stakeholders,
That's
and
right.
depending on that. Yeah.
That's right, Bhavan. So, and definitely it's case to case, and we are
Yeah.
not anywhere to comment on like who is right or wrong at that. It is all,
True.
at that time what they are doing and what is the situation. But obviously, today when things are discussed in the news and all, people definitely know, like somewhere the truth definitely comes out. That is one good thing in social media and in general. This thing that no one is like supremely powerful. Like everybody, the media has kept everybody in check. So that is such a positive thing that has come out. With the social media in general. Awesome. So, Bhavna, let's talk about the influencer aspect on PR. Like how does it work out for like when you have your designing strategies or something? Because I would say influencer management would be particularly separate, but there is some kind of integration. So, regarding that, if you could share something.
Yes, so influencer management, influencer collaboration. So these things have been gaining a lot of traction over the period of time, and this is majorly to do with enhancing brand credibility and brand visibility. So
Mhm.
when I talk about influencer tapping and that industry in itself, so that has been gaining a lot of traction in the fields of retail and in the fields of majorly in FMCGs, in D2C branding, retail, apparel, fashion, lifestyle. I would say, like I said before, also. And so the approach again remains integrated. So if we take influencer aspect also in the PR strategy, then obviously influencer plus traditional media, influencer plus A&M media. So overall the approach is integrated. I mean, it cannot be either influencer or that, but yes, the integrated aspect is definitely there now. So it is not
That's
just
right.
one-sided approach now.
That's right, Bhavna. I think you would have also noticed, like, say, in the last 10 years, where you had the talent management and all, let's say the celebrity, now they are more getting into influencers because that is also a huge market and you can make much more than with celebrities. The thing is that you are just maybe one small agency out there, right? And maybe you can directly work here with influencers. Like you can set up a complete, an operation where you have multiple influencers, different genres, different, sizes of the audience, and you
Yes.
are giving it as a service to so many. So, what do you feel on that? Like that is also, how you utilize that. Like, for example, when that there was a, like a negative PR that happened, I think in a particular chocolate brand where there was like there were some insects coming out, so then they had got Amitabh Bachchan as a person where he showcased the whole manufacturing process, so that built
Yes.
up the credibility. It was the same way in maybe at a smaller scale where you tie up with the people who are trusted voices in those domains, and then they talk about it. It's not could be a direct promotion, but like it just builds
Mhm.
up that that credibility and that positive
Yes.
image.
Yes, yes. So again, Nikhil, this is about actually offering tailored solution to the scenario and to the ask of the client. So suppose if there is a D2C client, and again, like you said, chocolate, then obviously the better way to enhance reach, to enhance visibility would be through Instagram, through YouTube, through other social media tools, right? But if there is a B2B client, then definitely traditional media would be a more trusted one as an option. But in conclusion, you can say that direct messaging needs to be uniform. That key messaging needs to be uniform, and that is throughout. Like if medium is there, you can change your approach, but then messaging has to be uniform. That okay, this is a trusted brand, and this is a credible brand, and that is why we are able to tap such influencers who have these many views and who have large reach. So again, influencer wise also, whether you want to tap a micro influencer, blogger, macro, or celebrity style, you want to do it. So that all depends case to case basis, client to client basis. But yes, the key messaging needs to be the same and uniform throughout. Yeah, across all mediums.
That's right. So Bhavna, let us go through the with in terms of in digital marketing, data usage of data and a proper analysis, reporting, and an action plan is something crucial. So when we look at PR, a general outsider perception is that it's like you won't attach so much of data or that thing in it. But how is it? How is data being used within PR campaigns or PR analysis?
Data, it has become important now, in PR campaigns, in the sense that it is a very strong catalyst in tracking the sentiments across digital platform. So once
Hmm.
you are in that space, basically when you are able to do that process, basically of tracking what is going around and tracking the sentiment across digital
Hmm.
platforms, and obviously, I would say that it definitely optimizes your content strategy, and based on real time insights, which was not earlier the case that was happening. Now, we see digital
Yeah.
marketing and these data tracking tools also are very much in vogue. So, analytics definitely they help in measuring the campaign impact, the type of impact it has, and that obviously that is clear with the metrics also that comes afterwards. Once you are done with your campaign, and they also the data insights and data analytic approach. It's also important in refining your messaging strategy, and also predicting trends, enabling a more, I would say, precise, a more personalized, and effective communication strategies going forward.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's right. So, Bhavna, in terms of, let's say, in terms of being specific, like say social listening, when you have these tools, so they give you an idea of what kind of conversation is happening, on the social networks about a certain brand could be a brand like a company, or it could be like even an individual. So
Yes.
any kind of thing you can share interesting where you all see that, like where a particular client also tells, that this is a negative chatter happening, and or you have analyzed on your own, and how do you kind of change this?
So I would say negative news has already spread, and and that is across all digital platforms. Then the prompt strategy, keeping pace with the morality aspect as well. It would be consistent communication and transparency.
Hmm.
So, taking responsibility, and addressing the issue directly and immediately. So most of the cases I have seen that people come up with crisis communication plan when the crisis actually has happened. So apparently, when you are in that strategizing phase, then you need to keep in consideration that what if this happen, then depending upon the gravity, you should be in that position when you have such a plan. Superficially you should be having few of the pointers, few of the call to action thing, that okay, if this happens, then we have a backup option, we have a plan B to rely on. So I think making your crisis communication part important and integral to the entire PR strategy mapping is, it's getting more and more sacrosanct day by day. When we are witnessing many such cases, that's on the rise. So yeah, that is equally
That's
important, and
right.
that should be given equal importance if that is not the case so far. Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, I think it's good time to transition in the question of general crisis management, where what is a general thing like when say you are a senior executive and a junior joins, and we are looking at the best practices. Like what is the things or the checklist of what do you follow in a crisis situation, wherein example would be the a viral video, like for example a fast food brand may, when they show like some insect is there in the food, and then that goes, which is a very negative news, especially or a brand where you are consuming those products. And also how do you kind of approach it, like let's just talk about the best practices.
Okay, so in this case, again, hypothetically speaking, the best practice would definitely be taking responsibility, communicating consistently, that too communicating consistently across levels, including all stakeholders involved in this, whether media, client side, or your fellow colleagues. So taking accountability for the same responsibility, and monitoring social media closely, that is also essential. And then maintaining consistent messaging and communication throughout the platforms. So if that is something which needs to be responded swiftly, then you have to respond to that swiftly, right? So you
Hmm.
need to have that entire setup at your disposal, that okay, if this has happened and it requires swift response, then you can't just keep sitting and let it subside on its own, because
Hmm.
likewise there'll be ramifications, there'll be repercussions. So just the loss is not greater in the degree to just put a
Hmm.
halt to that. I would say that these are the very generic initial ethical PR practices that you need to be mindful
That's
of.
right.
Yeah.
So, Bhavna, in in terms of to be more specific, like say in this case, if we take, there are always two scenarios. So one scenario is that somebody is just doing it for a publicity, so they have planted those things and all. And the second is it is genuine. So if you are the PR person in both cases, what would you do? So first case is where somewhere you see on the ground level that ये कुछ fake ही लग रहा है, that that person is planted.
Right,
What would you do?
right. Okay, so again, two perspectives here.
Yeah.
One is if it has happened genuinely. Like I have been with a couple of agencies earlier, so I have seen similar scenarios. The crisis, something, it has happened genuinely, and then we come up with a crisis management plan. And in some
Hmm.
cases, there is already a pre-established crisis management plan that needs to be followed with
Hmm.
little bit of additions and amplifications depending on the scenario. So
Hmm.
in that, the pointers would be taking accountability, key messaging, consistent communication across stakeholders, and taking a close
Hmm.
watch on social media. Now,
Hmm.
another aspect which you have said is if someone has done it deliberately to gain traction or to gain negative publicity or as a PR
Hmm.
stunt, you can. So personally,
Hmm.
I have not come across any such thing in my professional experience, but
Hmm.
definitely I have, I have. Got to know about similar cases. So it's about a known TV personality. So who was trying to spread awareness later on when it reached the masses that it was a PR stunt. So they were trying to justify it on the account of spreading awareness for cancer. So I think it is very important to understand that when you are in PR profession, a lot of it has to do with evoking human sentiments. It is,
Hmm.
based on networking, based on conversation. So it is not a robotic approach. So if you are
Hmm.
like tweaking it a little bit, that's still fine. But if you are putting it across as something which is very grave, as something which is serious, as something which is evoking human sentiments, that too raising false alarms. I think that is where, morality aspect should step in strongly. You need to reconsider the strategy and you need to actually, keep pace with the ethical practices that way. So if it is becoming a routine thing to just, fabricate things, then I think then it
Hmm.
definitely needs
So,
these
say
strategies.
in this case, like the first scenario where it was a fake thing, somewhere I think at the ground level where they try to deal with it, like with the person directly, and then obviously in social media you have to put out there because you have been wrongly accused, so you put out there that this was not genuine or something like that. That depends on what kind of words or whatever you
Yeah.
use.
So that depends on what kind of narrative that brand is trying to
Yeah.
create for themselves. And in the name of awareness, if they are
Hmm.
willing to fake someone's death, then that
Hmm.
depends on what route you are using and what is your end goal. Was it
Hmm.
really spreading awareness, or was it to do with
Hmm.
glorifying someone else's image? So it all depends. What is the end goal, and what is the tailored solution that you are offering and you are coming up at a later stage. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, this is an important thing which I've noticed of Bhavna. So, like say, like years back when you used to talk now that a stunt is being done so that you get organic news. Like for example, I think there was some American brand that they people were seeing there was some kind of a flying man, like because there was some backpack or something like he was going. So it was like people were thinking when they saw it, there's a flying man. Actually, then there was some brand integration or something. So it got a lot of organic chatter. So that I feel is a positive thing, wherein like you are getting attention, something unique is being showcased, right? Like out of the box thinking of the brands and all. But then somewhere brands also we notice that where they use, like some celebrity will tweet that you are wrongly using my photos, and then and may you come to know that it was completely an integration. So it's like calling wolf like false. So basically, like, what do you feel on this thing? Because I feel the first strategy is like there's more effort, obviously, and thinking in that, and here it's like a cheap kind of thing where you do wherein just to get that attention.
Exactly, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I have seen brands doing that also. Again, in the name of integrated approach or whatever, then if even if you are using someone else's image also, then I think it should be done on moral grounds. Keeping in mind the consent of the person, keeping in mind the further ramifications of the act as well. So I think, yeah, I mean, initially, if you are doing it to gain traction, and for the organic digital chatter and everything, I think that is still, if that is still fine to a certain extent. But again, if it is becoming a routine practice, then definitely a lot
Mm.
of
Because
thinking
even
is
in the
also.
audience also today they've caught on, like tomorrow one some celebrity does this, so they will not even believe it. Like they'll say, "Ha, ye PR hi tha." So I think the
Right.
celebrity also here is, I would say, you have to question, because then you have to know that tomorrow when there's some real thing happens, people will not believe you. So you are building your image also like that. So somewhere that celebrity or
Right.
influencer also has to be conscious. Agency maybe since it's not in the face level, you will can get away with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I feel
obviously,
that,
obviously.
yeah,
So you definitely. So these are the ramifications which you have to keep in mind, no, Nikhil.
yeah,
If something of that sort is being done and it is, a regular affair, then obviously you are diminishing the value yourself, of
yeah,
of the industry practices, and
yeah.
because there are,
I feel they're diminishing the value of their own, credibility. So that is
right,
something which, why would you want to do that for a small
right.
brand deal or whatever for you? Yeah, I'm
Exactly,
talking about the A-list celebrities.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And gaining traction also, and for that momentous, for that momentous exercise, which is obviously for a temporary phase. I think you are putting a lot on stake.
definitely.
Being part of the industry itself, I think that entire credibility and that responsibility, it is a collective sort of thing. So you can't view it from an individual POV, just like we are thinking out of the box. So we have autonomy to do whatever we want to, and So I think that moral or that ethical strand is something which you need to consider for yourself. Yeah.
That's right. Bhavna, one interesting thing we'll try to cover is the building of narratives. Like when we talk about, like in marketing, when we talk about storytelling, it is correlated to certain series of things that we are talking about. Like it could be a certain USP of your brand, or a story of your founder or the employees or something. So certain, like there is an episodic publishing of the content in a story wise format, which is more interesting to people because they like hearing stories and all than any kind of sales material. So when it comes to PR, how does that will maybe correlated to building a narrative, right? So how does this whole process work out within PR?
Yes. So storytelling, Nikhil, I tell you, it has become all the way more, essential in building brand and, in crafting impactful PR campaigns. And one important factor would be that it humanizes the brand, making it relatable, making it memorable, and, also fostering trust with the media. And obviously, if you also consider this, then a compelling narrative, it engages audiences and amplifies the brand's message. out and loud,
Mhm.
and making campaigns also more impactful and authentic. So people, they, they do respond swifter to the storytelling approach as compared to plan that is very bland, and that's just run of the mill narrative. So yeah, so that way storytelling stands out, as an alternative in crafting brand campaigns. Yeah.
That's right. Bhavna, in this, it would be interesting. It would be like, you building an image based on something. Like, say, a particular celebrity who is not getting, like the A-list brands, So, somewhere in his PR, he has to
Yeah.
build that narrative that I am for a class audience, right? So it could be maybe through their work also, but then also maybe the way they conduct themselves in the public setting, media and all that. So that is all kind of an integrated approach, right? Because end goal is that
Yes.
I want to have a following within a class audience also, right?
Yes, and every time, Nikhil, that every time it is not to do with the celebrity also. Like Forest Essential
Yeah.
campaign was commendable. So they did that with a normal village girl, a normal,
Mhm.
underprivileged girl, and that campaign did wonders. And
Mhm.
similar, and yes, and another campaign that did not involve, celebrity. It was Apple's Mother Nature campaign, so that also stood out. So I think if you are using storytelling as a approach, then definitely you can do it even without that celebrity route also. So story, so that
Mhm.
depends on the intensity of the story, and on the creativity and the innovative aspect also to it. So that is also very powerful medium to put across
That's
the
right. That's
campaign.
right. That's right, Bhavna. Yeah, like in this case, when I come back to my example, let's say for the celebrity only, I would say that celebrity maybe you performing in front of a certain audience, right? When you look at a class audience or somewhere, you are given an award, which is in that presence of certain class or the you will say the upper tier people. So there are activities on the ground level that you have to do, maybe even digitally, which a PR agency or your publicist or whatever does, so that it builds that image of you. And also, I feel in terms of correction of image, somewhere where there is a lot of negativity about you, I've heard like obviously when you participate in social services also that builds that positive this thing in you, right? Like I'm
Yes.
not undermining anyone like they are doing for show, but it is a part of it. It builds your image, and why not?
Yeah,
If a
same
person is
here, right?
putting in those efforts,
Mhm.
like big business corporations, they publicize. Like if they are doing at the ground level, they will have that full campaign running and even advertisements and all. They're showcasing
Yeah,
that we
yeah.
are doing this. That builds that
Exactly.
positive this thing. Then it affects in the business where you today they want those kind of companies also. Today, if you see Gen Z sustainability and
Yeah,
doing positive for the environment and all planet and all, so that is what is happening here.
yeah. The greener practices, sustainability, and not just social impact. I would say that
Yeah.
more with the animal welfare, with the underprivileged children, education, a lot to do with
Mhm.
that, and there's a lot of collaboration with UN agencies as well that way. So that adds another strand to it, making your campaign more effective and powerful. That it is also a stealth technique also to bring it to the forth and to the front foot. So I think, yeah, those techniques definitely they help prosper the business for the good also, and something you are giving back to the society. So I think it's definitely the win-win situation there out there. Yeah.
That's right. So Bhavna, like you work with a lot of companies. So could you like describe to the audience maybe like what kind of stakeholders who all are generally involved in your work and working level also, and maybe on a strategy level, like you look at different stakeholders within the company and how do you impact them because that is also part of the PR.
Yes, crucial aspect of it. So, to
Yeah.
engage multiple stakeholders across various digital platforms, and while maintaining a cohesive PR strategy. So, basically, what I've been doing is, and what I've been observing the trend so far. So, that is focus on consistent messaging, and tailored to each platform's audience, the target audience. Obviously, the audience for YouTube or for social media would be different from the audience of traditional media. And this
Hmm.
also involves a clear, a clear communication, regular engagement, and also aligning all your efforts with the overarching brand narrative, ensuring a unified approach across all channels. If something goes to YouTube, if something goes to Instagram or other social media, then the approach has to differ with respect to positioning with traditional media that encompasses a relatively structured format. So, in whatever way, we need to ensure that the cardinal message, the key message, that needs to be uniform throughout. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Stakeholders, as in like when we look at clients, तो होता है like when you look at that is the public in general, like the prospect, like in a
Ah,
B2C company, तो is anyone can be in terms of a
yes.
customer when you look at overall like say
Right.
FMCG and all.
Mhm.
But when we look at stakeholders like in public limited companies, it is then also a perception that is built, right? Because that has a huge impact on the shareholders, right?
Right.
So that's the thing. So do you think in your approach in a general public, when you look at just the customers in general and stakeholders, where they are like the shareholders, like is there any different approach that you use in like approaching both of them?
So, again, I'm sure that this is, a very specific question. And, I have, so far in my experience, this shareholder thing and also I have made an observation. They are taken in the loop of communication for sure because, they are also related to the company equally as the person who is in charge of the campaign is. And at the end of the day, it is the company as a whole and not just the strands of it. So I think yes, definitely such an apparatus and such a system must be in the place. And again,
Mhm.
that is all depending on the scenario and
That's right.
depending on the
After
requirement.
like in terms of where I have communicated, like with certain PR professionals, I think it's more when you look at the stakeholders, like say they are shareholders in the company or something. It's more a PR where it's reaching out to them. So like, what are the papers or something they are reading? Like it'll be at a higher level. Like when you look at say a direct magazine, like a luxury related or you have your economic times or something like that. So that is there, and then events that they use where you are directly engaging with those stakeholders, that are
Mhm.
there, the shareholders or something like that. So definitely there is a different approach. Now, depending on the scale of operations of the business,
Yes,
how do
true.
they differentiate and design activities? But definitely there is that perception management that is there because they are the most important, like when you see which for the general public, if I can say, when you look at a LinkedIn audience and an Instagram audience, right?
Right.
What is more value? I feel in a LinkedIn follower is of much more value, right? Because with a small amount of following, they are like decision makers, which could, buy your services or something compared to Instagram, which is just mainly, I would say, a consumption level, right? So
Right.
you could correlate like say 5 followers on LinkedIn would be equivalent to 100 or something like that. I'm just saying in general, but I would
Yeah.
say that the thing is that where it's more important, that follower, that person is much more important than the in terms of the general public. So that they are kind of aware of, and I feel as a PRNC you have to be conscious for that. Awesome.
That's right.
So
That is right. And that
that's right.
happens
So
also. That happens also. But again, you mentioned very specifically that depends on the scale of operation for sure. Yeah.
that's it. That's it. So Bhavna will come to like when you're analyzing the PR impact, like when you sit with you obviously as a consultant would have had meetings after a month down or something, like what has been the impact and that you're kind of presenting to the top management. So actually, like what do we look at? What like metrics or just look at articles out there or some events and like how what all is discussed?
Okay, so you talk about the metrics, right? The
That's
metrics
right.
that need
That's
to
right.
be.
Yeah, like for example, one would be like how many of known publications may the articles have got, whether it's online, offline.
Yes,
So
yes,
that is
yes.
kind of presented by a PR agency. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. So apart from the customized approach, I would just like to mention what are the basic, key metrics and key metrics pointers that one needs to
Hmm.
be, mindful of. So definitely some of the fundamental metrics taken into consideration in almost each and every possible scenario and strategy. So those would be, keeping a tab on online visibility, track media coverage, prepare that coverage grid, backlinking and mentions. So that is the first part of it. And another thing would be tracking engagement also. So like it measures likes, shares, comment, the actual reach, and then keeping a tab on the traffic analyzation part of the analysis of the website traffic, that is from the PR campaigns. Then the SEO impact, search engine optimization. So you monitor the improvements in search rankings and the domain authority. So all the way that has become important. And so another important aspect would be lead generation part. How are you able to assess the conversions and the conversion rates that are coming out from the PR driven traffic? And of course, brand sentiment is something which is, the very fundamental part of this. We gauge with the shifts in brand perception through sentimental analysis, in which a lot of role of data, metrics, and data analysis is also there. Yeah.
Hmm. Awesome. So Bhavna, we can like discuss in terms of like the impact of AI and these new technologies that are there. Where how do you see them being a part of PR? Not only maybe at an analysis level, but also at a executional level, like when you see key with the tools you can enhance the PR.
So yes. So emerging trends like AI and automation, Nikhil, they are revolutionizing PR. I can say because I have also witnessed this transition that has happened at such a fast pace. So they have revolutionized PR, and still that is in the process further by enabling real-time data analysis, enhancing audience targeting and streamlining the entire communication process. So in brand reputation management, these technologies definitely they can monitor sentiments more effectively, predict prices before they actually escalate to another level, and
Hmm.
personalized responses, at scale. Ultimately,
Yeah.
AI and automation, it will definitely lead to more evolving of the industry further, and it will lead to more proactive and strategic reputation management. And it will also allow brands to maintain trust and that level of authenticity in an ever evolving, digital landscape. So definitely it is for the good, but it depends, on the degree of its usage and other aspects involved. Yeah.
That's right. Lastly, Bhavna, there's a important like when you look at that image building and management. When you look at like a celebrity or the brand, like how do you kind of let's like take a scenario where they want to maintain, like we mentioned about like there are certain positive things that they want to be associated in the market, right? Or something that makes them think that they are a thought leader in their niche or something. So then that helps them to get work within that domain more or leads or something. So how do you go about this process? And today mainstream they use it, like image management and all that. So how do you kind of go about this whole process?
So, image building, brand management, and brand enhancement, brand visibility, these are the things one resort to definitely to bring up the positive aspects of it. But then you need to be
Hmm.
mindful of the fact that you are dealing with humans out there. And if you are, evoking human sentiments with this, doing the sentimental analysis with AI driven strategies and all, then I think important is to understand that even if there is something negative that needs to be put out, as a statutory warning or something like that, then even that should be done in its own due course of time, and the action that is required in that sense. So it cannot be either all the way positive and all the way negative, but it has to be a good mix of both. And those gray areas need to be identified, and they need to be tackled very strategically and definitely swiftly. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So you can have like people like coming to you that I want to build my image in this direction. Like say you are having like a particular say a musician. So I want to cater more to this kind of audience, right? Like so maybe I will get more because maybe in my following this audience is not getting tapped basically. So I want somewhere that I get this. It's basically like getting new fan followings. Like is that also a part of the PR thing?
So yes, but that is a very tailored approach specific to the client. So you're talking about tapping the musician and the related audience. Then I would like to say that is something to do with the D2C branding, and something that you need people to be aware of in general. But again, if I talk about something to do with the corporate branding and stuff, then again they might require someone who is a prominent industry expert or leader in that domain. So again, that is a very domain specific and client specific requirement. So you cannot tap all sorts of audience for one specific
That's right.
project. So like I said before, so it's completely tailor made solutions to that. So yeah, and that is the beauty of this industry, that is the beauty of digital media and clubbing it together with PR domain. So yeah.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, my opinion also would be that the image building, like this is done like if you take even in terms of you as a person on when you look at your own social media, we
Mm-hmm.
all want to project something, right? Like
Yes.
about ourselves. So you have to ask yourself maybe, okay, what are the adjectives I want to be associated with, right? That's how you
Yes.
maybe break it down. So I want to be, suppose I want to be perceived as a very adventurous person, right? So maybe in my social media, I have to have certain things where I've gone on treks or I've gone to different, places which
Yeah.
was like adventure or something has happened, like so it's how you break down like okay, what do I want to be associated with, and then what is my storytelling in that, like what content I have created
Yes.
which
Yes.
is conveying towards that, so if you simplify it, like it could be for
Yeah.
everyone, when you have कि यार मेरा क्या image है, which is so important. Today we live in a digital world. Like even before a person connects with you, he's connecting with your social media. So you have to make sure कि उसमें if you see everybody, the thing is someone told me that you are going to be judged, right? There's no this thing, so you should be try to be judged in the right way, right? So
Yeah.
this efforts
Right. Right.
should be within that direction because it's a part of life. You you want to connect with the right people also, and you find your tribe. Your content, your storytelling, your
Mhm.
image should be built in that direction
Yes.
because
Yes.
people will then connect with you. कि ठीक है, he is someone like me. He's
Mhm.
creating that relatability, yeah, with
Yes.
that
True.
people.
True.
So
True.
and
Yeah.
then
So
kind of get closer. Yeah,
yeah. And that again, depending on the scale of operation and everything, that is at a later stage. But then initially, what is required to break it down into simpler process, I think important is to find your own niche, and then to build your brand identity or your brand narrative based on that niche. Then carving out key messaging and strategy and putting it out across platforms, the consistent communication. So I think these are the basic building blocks behind any PR campaign or any brand narrative that you want, that you want to put across all verticals out and aloud.
that's right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I think it's been a awesome your podcast here with Bhavna. We discussed so many interesting things within digital PR,
Yes,
and
yes,
the examples. I think you give very great, awesome examples because obviously you have worked in the industry and you're kind of
yeah,
remembering, what I did this and that and how I can. So
yeah,
I feel
yeah,
that was made it, quite relatable to the audience. Like when they have great examples. With everything we are talking about, like, so that it doesn't get that technical. So I think
Yeah.
it was great insights shared by you. So before wrapping up, then Bhavna, little you can say maybe in your career what is happening ahead, and then a little bit about your own social media.
Sure. So right now, Nikhil, I was taking off a few of the real estate and aviation and healthcare clients, and in that also it was a very specific ask of one of the clients that they want to tap in influencers or they want to tap in prominent podcasters for their campaign and for their gala event or whatever like that. So, one thing is from the client side, I would say they see the line between digital media, digital marketing, and PR, that is traditional PR. So, the line definitely it is blurring in the scenario of integrated communication. But you have to be mindful of the fact that PR is still a different discipline than digital marketing, and when the ask of the client is to incorporate both, then definitely they should talk about incorporating the relevant budgetary allocation as well. So that is one pain point that I have been able to identify, is in most of the cases. So that is there, and we being part of the agency or we being part of the PR consultation team, so I think it so far the journey has been really knowledgeable, enlightening, and immensely beneficial with the help of few of the mentors also whom I've met in the journey. And I'm just hopeful and optimistic then that it just goes on like this, and I'll be happy to learn more and to definitely adopt the practices that I learn from my mentors, from their experiential learning and everything. So I like the beauty of this profession is not stagnant. The beauty of this profession is not a very definite rigid structure that these are the four walls and you have to stay inside this. So I think it gives you a lot of empowerment to go beyond the traditional fringes and to explore and to create and to innovate on this. So I think yes, definitely that gives me immense happiness. Yeah.
That's right. Just one thing I think I forgot to ask you, Bhavna. It's quite interesting. So, in a person, like what kind of qualities maybe which you have in you inherently may will be more suitable for the PR industry?
So first and foremost, when I stepped into the related job also, so since day one, I made it very clear in my head that I am not taking it as a job, but I am taking it as a career. So I
Mhm.
always have that beginner's mindset that okay, if this is something which requires brushing and grooming of my skills, then definitely I'm not hesitant in doing that. So I think in
Mhm.
PR it is all the way more important to have a beginner's mindset wherever you are going. So you are willing to adapt to skills, you are willing to innovate, and you are willing to take good learning and knowledge. So
Mhm.
I think that is important. So if anyone has to take PR as a profession, then you take it as a career option and not just as a job kind of thing, because when you move forward with that mindset, I think there is a lot to explore for the good of your own as well. Yeah.
That's right. And Bhavna, in terms of let's say the qualities, like say you have good maybe English communication skills or something. So like what kind of those skills which
So
you already at a student level, maybe that would be that yeah, you are a good candidate for PR.
exactly. So skill has to be, I would say the convincing skills have to be there, because, if the client is adamant on one thing, that as being a consultant, what is it that you are offering for the betterment of the campaign or the for better brand building? So I think that is a core part of your communication. So I think it's important to, do a little bit of grooming on that part. And when I say communication, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be like outstanding in English or something like that. In whatever language you're comfortable, just make sure you are able to convey your POV, effectively. So effective communication, convincing skills, and your research about your client, about the entire scenario of the client's operation, your research skills, your content curation. So these are some of the building blocks, and your ability to network well. So I think these
Hmm.
are some of the qualities and some of very basic skills that would enable you for a smooth sail ahead. Yeah.
That's the reason. I've also noticed that it obviously with journalism and PR, somewhere that similarities are there, wherein in a person where he is, like tries to get to like to express themselves or get to the truth, like they say, like a research or something like that, or get deep into things. That is a good quality to have. Networking would be there, clear communication, where you can, list down things in points and, execute them, and also strategic thinking. And also, I feel certain of these qualities you have to have. If you don't have, try to adapt or gain them in you,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah,
Because
and then you
yeah.
build on further qualities with your experiential learning further. But these are like, if you have
Hmm.
these basics right, then obviously it is going to be a smooth sail for sure.
That's right. That's right. Awesome, great. So thanks a lot, Bhavna. You took out, your time, like crucial time for us, and definitely contributed a lot to my audience here on the MI podcast. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much, Nikhil, and I'm really glad, and it gives me immense happiness that I've been able to share my insights and my insights from especially my experiential learning so far, and I've been able to put that across, and it has been a truly insightful conversation from your side also, and I really look forward to more conversations like this. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And to the audience, the MI podcast is there on all the major podcast platforms. And we are also on YouTube as Modern Intelligence. So please go out there and subscribe. That'll be great for us for reaching out to newer audiences. If you are interested in a collaboration, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn and we can work out something. Thanks a lot for your time. I'll see you all. Take care.